Babe, do you see? It is 11 a.m. exactly.
Yeah, I think this has got to be the first time you've ever nailed it right at 11 a.m.
I came through.
You did. What time did you get up this morning?
I got up at 8. I had to wash my hair. I had to dry it. I had to curl it.
Okay.
Priorities, baby.
It looks good.
Thanks.
I like that you're wearing yellow because it kind of matches with the aesthetic.
Does it blend a little bit?
It just pops, yeah.
I look like I belong here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Well, we've got some really fun news to share with you. It's kind of been what our last 10 weeks of our life has consisted of, and I'm really excited to chat about it with you and to share it with our audience. And it's a really big deal, and I'm really excited. And I've just been watching you work so hard, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited to chat about it. So let's hop right into the episode. Welcome, everyone, to the Freddie and Alyssa Show. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, all that fun YouTube stuff. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to follow the page. And if you're listening on a platform like iTunes, hello out there. If you want to give us a 5-star review because you think we deserve it, that would be awesome. We've been putting up content now for almost 4 years. And we're just enjoying our journey. We want to thank you for all your support of tuning in every Wednesday and checking out our clips. And, we strive to entertain you with our life and bring you pop culture and a lot of other fun stuff. And we're learning and growing, and we're going through such a growth period in our life. And I'm so happy that we're able to capture it and kind of share just the whirlwind of experiences that we're having. And the first thing that I want to get into is a huge congratulations, because... Do you want to announce it yourself rather than me announcing it?
Yeah, I'll take it. So everybody, say hello to Florida's newest real estate agent.
Pew, 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 pew.
If I've been MIA on social media, it's because I have been studying like a crazy person nonstop. But yeah, we're really, really excited. I know for me, real estate's something that's always been a huge interest. It's always really intrigued me. And in all my 20s, let's say, traveling was really, really a big passion of mine. We did a lot of traveling together, and through the travels, I was able to discover this really cool love for architecture and interior design. And it's just something that's always been in the corner of my mind. And I'm like, when the right time comes, I'll get my license. Well, that time came. I was chatting with my mom in February, and my parents moved here in April from New Jersey, for anyone who doesn't know. So it was a big deal because they sold their house up there. They wanted to purchase one here. And in February, when I was chatting with my mom, she's like, I need to find a house. And so I started doing my due diligence and finding stuff online that was available to me. Obviously, I wasn't a real estate agent. And so I started sending her stuff. I was like, this is so much fun. I love this. I love helping people try and figure out and find exactly what they want. And I had sent everything over to my mom. She's like, man, I just wish you could be my realtor. And I was like, I go, it's kind of perfect timing. So I looked up everything online. I researched, and I found out that it was 63 hours of education, and I could do it all online. So that was really big for me because going somewhere in person, that takes up a lot of your time. But I'm like, if I can kind of do this on my own schedule and even study if I need to at midnight to do something, that I like that flexibility. That's just how I work. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I feel in the beginning, I would sprinkle it in when I could. I mean, we had a lot going on because not only did we have a lot of company, like remember your parents came, my parents moved, we went down to South Florida, we were in the middle of vaccinations, running our show, lots of collaborations. Like there was just a lot going on in those few months. So I took my time with it, but then I was like, oh, my parents are going to be here soon. I gotta get this done. I gotta get it going. So just crammed.
What do you think was what was your experience going into it?
So this is what's so crazy with it. Last Friday, I ended up taking the course pretest. So in order to even get to the state exam, you have to do 63 hours of education and pass the 100-question course pretest. And I waited to take that because I was like, if I don't pass this, I'm going to have to wait 30 days to take it again. And then if you fail that, you have to take the 63-hour course again. And so I was like, time is of the essence. I have to make sure I'm so ready because my test was scheduled for Monday. So it's Friday.
May 10th.
May 10th, yeah. So Friday night before May 10th, I go, okay, I have to get this pre-test done because I had been studying all week. Took the test, got an 88. I felt really good. But then I started prep agent Saturday morning. And like I said, the language was just very different. And there were a lot of things that I go, oh gosh, like ACEable agent told me I had to know about all the condo documents, which by the way, that wasn't even on the test, you know? So you just don't know. And of course, tests change every year. But I spent Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning cramming like 10 hours a day on prep agent, really understanding the type of questions that would be on the test. And I mean, I think I did like 700 questions of testing in those few days. It was insane. It was nonstop. So Monday comes and I was excited. I was nervous. I felt really confident with it. And even the math portion, which is crazy, I felt so confident going in, but it was because I found this woman on YouTube. Her name's Karen Clymer. Funny enough, she's in Orlando, and she just broke the math down of what you need to know, simplified it so thorough. And I memorized all the formulas. I practiced a lot. And for me, and for anyone who's been following for a while, you know, I love language. I love writing. I love reading. Numbers, like, that's your jam. I can do it for sure, but it's not like my second language. You know?
Yeah.
So I really studied, and when the math portion came, I knew everything. So that was really cool. But going into the test, you know, I'm all about mindset, and this was what's so crazy. I got to take the test here at home. It was proctored all online, and it was really interesting because they were saying if they hear anything at all, that I'm just going to literally my test will be disqualified and that's it. So you took the dog, you left, and I'm so basic, but I started blasting. All I do is win, no matter what. And I was jumping around the house because I had to get that energy out. You know, I was really excited. And I sat down, and when you log on, they say, okay, send us your phone number. They send a text with a link. You click on the link. You have to take a picture of yourself, picture of your license to make sure it's you. And then you have to take pictures of 4 different angles of the room that you're going to be testing in, because they just want to make sure you don't have a whiteboard or anything, any answers anywhere. And so I did that. Then this woman comes on. She can see me. She's viewing me, but the entire time you can't see this proctor. So it's kind of like a little weird, you know, because I'm being watched like a voyeur, you know? But she starts chatting with me in the text box, and she says, can you show me, you know, the room again? Just got to make sure. She's like, oh, you can have the water, but you can't have a calculator or your chapstick. And I go, huh. So I get up and I put that in the next room, and the phone, of course, too. And I was like, well, what do I do about a calculator? You know, there's math. And she goes, oh, no, don't worry. There's a calculator in the system and a whiteboard. So if I need to sit down, write notes, whatever it is, or figure problems out. So I was like, okay, that's different. And I started the test. And the test was, I think it was 3.5 hours long. I finished it in about 2. And as I started going through it, it's interesting. They say that when you first start the test, you're going to be like a little nervous. So it's going to seem so silent where you're at, you're just going to be like, whoa, it's a lot quieter than I thought.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to be like that. This is in my house. I'm taking the test where I studied all these hours. And I sit down, the test starts, and all of a sudden it's so quiet, like just so quiet. And then I start hearing the freaking clock going tick, 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 tick. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to take this entire test like this? But once I got into it, I didn't hear that anymore. I think that's just probably like the nerves.
Yeah.
You know, and I kept going through, and I felt pretty confident about a lot of it, but I finished the test probably in about 2 hours. So I said, I have an hour and a half. I know this sucks, but let me go back and check every single answer. You know, I have the time, let me do it. And it's funny, going back with a different brain once you've fully taken the entire test, I was able to really sit and understand and go, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. Or, oh, that's right. Because you can flag different questions if you want to go back.
That's good.
So I could go and see. But I mean, I looked at all of them.
Did you make any changes?
I did. There were like, I would say probably like 3 or 4 that I was like, oh, why would I say that? This is obviously this. But I was, you're going through it and you're like, oh, what's coming next? And then not to mention, anytime I go and grab my water, I was like, I hope she doesn't think I'm cheating, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it just was so interesting. And then there were times when I would catch myself and I was looking at a question, and if I didn't know it, I was like taking a deep breath and I go, this proctor thinks I'm probably insane. It's probably really interesting watching people under, like, it's a pretty stressful situation, you know? You want to pass this. And I felt really cool, though, because when the math portion came up, I pulled out the whiteboard and I was typing all these formulas out just to make sure I knew them all. I was like, this proctor probably thinks I know my stuff. Maybe she wasn't watching.
Oh, I'm sure. Because you had to get a 75, right?
75 or higher. So yeah, and what else is really cool is the brokerage that I'm going with, they have a coaching program. So for the first 3 transactions, they have a coach who's there with you, of course, understandably. And they also have this little area of, you know, classes if you want, just because now that you have the knowledge, it's going into the field and doing it. That's going to be a different experience.
Yep.
And what's really cool with helping my parents, I get to kind of get that first time experience with them and really understand what it's like so that I can continue to go on and, you know, help others, which will be really nice.
Well, and I think that's why we really wanted to help your parents as well is, you know, being someone's first is, you know, with your parents, now with your second person, after we sell them a house, you're going to be able to say, you know, hey, like, I'm not new. If anyone ever asks, you're like, this is my second, I just started, but it's not the first ever.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of like going into surgery. Like, imagine doctors who do heart surgery for the first time, and someone's like, how much experience do you have? Well, this is my first, oops, all right. This is my, where's my pocket? This is my first time doing it, but I promise I've done a lot of schooling. Yeah. I had an online proctor watch me do one on a dummy, and so I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? You're like, so it's going to be nice that you have one under your belt and that we can see, because from what you explained to me as well is like, you know, the test was similar to how schooling was in the sense that they teach you a lot of stuff. And then from the real estate agents that we spoke to, there's a lot of it that you'll never use, kind of like how I felt in high school. Like so much you learned you never use. Yeah. And it's just funny how education works that way, where it's like, let's give you all this information, but then in the field, like you said, you didn't know how to get with the brokerage, how to start the MLS. There was nothing about how to actually be a real estate agent, of dealing with rejection and learning about leads. Like, luckily, we've done enough in that I feel like that's going to be a strong suit. Totally. And now for you, it's just learning the instrument of the ins and outs. But I think, and anyone who's a real estate agent can let me know if I'm right or wrong on this, but I think probably one of the hardest things about being a real estate agent is being self-employed or a business owner. And having to deal with a commission-based business, having to deal with getting leads, being a people person, communication skills, dealing with rejection, staying organized. Yeah. And, you know, I think that's the skill that I think probably, and being a person that attracts leads. Yeah. And that's the thing that we learned the most. And that's when we started working on ourselves once we got into business. Yeah. Is that people want houses, people want water, people want microphones. But there's a million of them. Right. What makes them go with you? And it's like you have to continue to get better as a person to attract people to want to spend time on a major purchase with you. Of course. And so a lot of the work has to do with ourselves. And I was like, this is like really cool. So I'm so happy, and it's amazing because I don't think I've ever seen you in that
study mode.
Not even study mode, but just massive accomplishment in like 10 weeks.
Thanks, honey.
You know what I mean? Because everything else that we do doesn't really have an end.
Sure.
It's kind of like, you know, I guess when we like wrote our book, that had like a beginning, middle, and an end. But that was also different. Like, this was a very accountable responsibility. There's a deadline. And the reason there was a deadline too is that we didn't realize it was going to take this long. Because when you think in your mind, you're like, 63 hours. If you do like even 4 hours a day, you know, how long is that really going to take you?
Well, and I would say my biggest, not issue with it, but just something I didn't realize. When they said 63 hours, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to learn this. I'll be done. Bada bing, bada boom. Bada boom, bada bing. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
I thought I would be done. And so what I learned is that I would sit and do, say, 3 hours. But when I was learning it, I go, I really want to absorb and understand this. I don't want to just memorize. I want to really know what it is I'm learning. So it almost kind of doubled the time.
Yep.
And then after that, going to prep agent from the course, there was even more stuff.
Yeah.
So there's just so much learning. I mean, real estate is not a simplified type of test, if you want, with all the information. There's a lot to know. But then a lot of real estate friends are like, oh, you're not going to really use anything on the test. It's just kind of a formality, which I understand the state wants you to know all of this stuff. You have to know the laws. You have to know the history and all of that and the principles of it. So I understand it all, but I'm just like excited to get out there.
Well, now you get to do the fun part.
Yeah, which I love.
The fun part is the marketing and sales part of it. You know, it's like the prep is always, you know, but yeah, it's just really, it's neat to learn to teach.
Yeah.
I think that really helps. Like if you, and I think us being, you know, on social media, having a podcast, especially now getting into real estate in general, you want to know what you're talking about. And so if you just memorize it's past the test, it's kind of whatever. So it's, but it took a really long time. It took way longer than we thought. And then you have to do like fingerprints, you have to register with the state, and there's all these different steps and like applications and background checks and like all of this stuff. And then we also too, it's like your parents, you know, moved here, they have an Airbnb with an expiration date. So we thought we'd be done by April 1st. Yeah. So it took 6 weeks longer than expected. So then once we got down to this level of, we need to like do this. Yeah. It that was also the added pressure because we have about a month to find them a house. And then not to mention the market right now.
The market is crazy for anyone who's not in that world. It's a seller's market. At the second a house goes up, there are numerous bids. People are just paying way more than, you know, you normally would. So it's crazy out there.
On top of all this too, Alyssa and I are, you know, moving in
a couple weeks.
In 18, 19 days, but we don't have a place yet. So we've been looking, but on Trulia and on Zillow and apartments.com, everyone that I've called has already been
so fast.
Is gone. So once we have access to the MLS,
which will be today or tomorrow.
Yeah, then we'll be able to get those hot new listings even for rentals for us to go find. Yeah. So we were also waiting on that, but I was driving around all these areas, you know, looking for your mom, because that's the thing I like the most. Like I like looking at the areas, I like looking at the numbers, and I can't wait to be able to do like the videos, the marketing, the advertising, because I want to start making like little vlogs, because this is like what I've been craving is that I want to be able to bring the camera and create like little mini, because like imagine you meet a couple who's moving to Orlando and they find us online and they're like, hey, and we're like, oh my gosh, we vibe, and they're going to go look for a house. Yep. To document that, if they're cool with being on camera, showing through the houses, they're putting in an offer, and not dramatic, like, because a lot of these shows like $1 Million Listing, or I'm sure even Selling Sunset and all these big shows, I can only assume that some of the drama is made up because it's so high stakes TV. Yeah. But YouTube and Facebook's different. I think people love the authenticity that if they do put in an offer and
you're going to get real drama because the market's insane right now.
Well, yeah, but it's not to produce a show. It's to document the process, and also for that couple to always be able to have that video to look back and go, oh my gosh, we went to 6 houses, we finally got one, and then you show that whole process and edit into like an 8-minute video.
I love that. Let us know below if you guys want to watch some stuff like that, because that could be really cool.
Yeah, and going to look at houses. Like I love looking inside, you know, looking at the houses and doing all of that. So, but yeah, we've really haven't thought other than just like slight little marketing stuff and things that we want to do with it. It's just been mainly focusing on the information. Yeah. And I love that I got to sit in on a couple of the chapters, because anytime it was like numbers or taxes and
come here, honey,
write-offs, I dropped everything. I don't know why. And then as soon as it went back to like the code and the chapter and law of
zoning,
this case, I'm like, I'm out. But but I loved looking and learning, because when it comes even to real estate investing, I don't know why none of this was taught. Like why isn't, like when you learn even the tax code, when you're learning about like investing in real estate properties and rentals, and then understanding how you can
exemptions, and there's so much I learned that I go,
tax shelters.
Yeah, that's huge.
So this is what's really interesting of why people, and then they always, like Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad, or even some of the interviews he's done, like he always gave a vague answer. And I remember people always were like, what do you mean? He just goes, if you want to have tax exemptions or write-offs, he's like, you need a business. You start a business, you can have tax write-offs, because the biggest bill you have that any human has is their tax bill. But if you start a business or are self-employed, you're able to use the tax code legally and be able to reduce the amount of money that you're paying into taxes that you can put back into your business. And they were talking all about investing and a 1031 exchange, how you can take the capital gains from the house and you can move it over to another house of equal or more value, and you don't have to pay the tax on the money you made. And you keep on growing it and growing it and growing it, but you don't have to pay the tax because they're incentivizing you to continue, because the more you grow, the more people you employ. The more it helps the economy, the more. So they incentivize people to build businesses. And it's really not that hard. It's just the risk and the knowledge of learning. Like, you don't want to end up buying something that ends up being a property that you didn't know so much was wrong with, or then you lose money. So there is risk, and I think that's why people stay away from it. But these days, it's like even a steady job's a risk these days.
Everything is.
So,
nothing is certain.
No,
Nothing.
so that's why. But yeah, so I don't really know, other than just taking. I just feel like our biggest step was, let's help you pass the test. Let's help you sell your parents a house. And then we can kind of take a deep breath and go, okay.
And find a place to live first.
And find a place to live. And then
we can
move forward of like, what's going to be this plan. Today's episode is sponsored by Green Chef. So Florida Fred wants to become a better chef. So I usually just kind of make things up as I go, but I'm going to have Green Chef help me. And Green Chef has been helping me. Yay. And I want to tell you about it because it's been absolutely amazing. Green Chef is the first USDA certified organic meal kit company. Enjoy clean ingredients that you can trust, seasonally sourced for peak freshness. And here's some of my favorites. Ingredients come pre-measured, perfectly portioned, and mostly prepped, so you can spend less time stressing and more time enjoying delicious home-cooked meals. Green Chef makes eating well easy and affordable with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto or paleo, vegan, vegetarian. They have all these different options. But I just love that they all come prepared, because sometimes if I go to the grocery store, I'll end up wasting ingredients, which I don't want to do. So it comes just prepackaged, ready to go, step by step. You like tear the bag, you do this, and it's just step by step. And here are what they send you. If you're watching this, you can actually see it's a little guide. So I made Greek beef and feta patties the other day.
So good.
It was
so good.
The best meal I ever cooked.
I know.
And I'm learning techniques about cooking that I didn't know before. So that's also what's amazing about this. Not only are you getting like a good meal, but you're learning cooking techniques by following, what do you know, a recipe. Yeah, so Green Chef, thank you so much. If you want to try Green Chef out for yourself and follow along too, because Florida Fred's going to go on this journey and I'm going to be cooking all different types of food. So if you want to come along on this journey, Green Chef is offering a huge discount for all of our listeners. So go to greenchef.com/90TFA show and use code 90TFA show to get $90 off, including free shipping. So this is a really great deal. So you can go to greenchef.com/90TFA show and use code 90TFA show to get $90 off, including free shipping.
Since I'm the wildly sentimental one, I'm going to take over our next sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Storyworth. So no doubt it has been a great year for all of us. And I know for me, the one thing that's really helped me get through it is calling my mom and having her talk me through it. So this year for Mother's Day, I was like, well, what can I get her that's, really thoughtful, heartfelt, sentimental? And I found it with Storyworth. So Storyworth, it's this online service that helps moms, grandmoms, mother-in-law. I have one of those now.
You do.
Or just any mother figure in general, help share their stories so that you can have them forever. And it's really cool because every single week what they do, Storyworth will email your mom They'll ask her or give her a story prompt to ask her a thought-provoking question where your mom will then reply with her story. So maybe it's a question like, what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten from your mom? Or what's a talent you wish you had? Just questions you probably would have never asked before.
Yeah.
And it prompts your mother to be able to answer it and share her story. And the very cool thing about this is after 1 year, Storyworth will take all of these stories plus photos and make a really special keepsake and send it for you so that you'll have it for generations to come.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that so sweet?
Yeah, that's really cool.
My heart so happy. So yeah, they will ship that for free, which is also awesome. Guys, give your mom the most meaningful gift this Mother's Day with Storyworth. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/TFAS. You'll get 10% off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/TFAS for $10 off. So thank you so much, Storyworth. We appreciate you so much. I was going to say, too, throughout all of the studying, you were an absolute gem. You, anything I wanted, you would bring me breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you go back to my stories from the past few weeks, there were so many things of meals because you were just cooking for me, back massages, cleaning, going to the store. You did it all. And because you took all that stress off of me so that I solely just focus. So
absolutely, because I wanted you to succeed and there's a commission.
Fred loves the money.
So but we were also in a really interesting position of there was nothing else that we could focus on.
No.
So we were kind of at a stalemate for the past 6 weeks but for me, I've been really taking my fitness a lot more serious. I've been really, I just really took this time in between the stuff that I was learning with you and running the household and doing all that. But I also kind of took some time for myself. Mm-hmm. And I was driving around looking at all these different areas. I played an ungodly amount of basketball and just exercising and just it was really therapeutic for me to kind of just take a break because we have been at it nonstop since I don't know how long, to be honest. We've never really taken just some time. And even though we were continuing to do our podcast on Wednesdays, our producer podcast on Sundays, you're crushing it on Instagram, going to do all these photo shoots. But every now and then, I just kind of took the gas off of social media and just kind of took a break. And it re-energizes you where now that. I'm hungry to start posting again and making silly videos. But you kind of center yourself. You kind of do take a break. I think it's funny how in 1980, taking a break was going camping. Now in 2021, taking a break is just getting off social and just living a normal life. Yeah. And just, you
have to.
And it's really, it was really, really good. But now that we've accomplished this, we can kind of put back in motion a few of the projects that we were waiting on. Yeah. So that was my whole thing is I was working on behind the scenes stuff, but I was I want to move forward. And now we're so close to selling your parents a house and then us moving. I was you know what?
Finish it and then
let's finish
everything.
it. We can regroup in about 3 to 4 weeks, and then we can see where we're at. But I want to get them a house. I want to move. I want to get settled, and then go back to another 90-day run of work, build something, and it's gonna be great. But I'm so proud of you. Just watching you crush all that, and being able to celebrate in a win where I didn't have as much of the anxiety and nervousness.
You didn't have to do any of it, but you took care of me. That's important.
You know what's so funny is there's this place called Baldwin Park, and you told me about that because you did a photo shoot there a month ago or something. And so as I'm driving around looking at different areas of where we wanted to look or where we wanted to live, you were taking your test and I didn't want to bother you, and I had Benjamin. And I said, you know what, let me just go check out Baldwin Park. I'm already up here. It's about 45 minutes away, but I was already 30 minutes towards that way in Windermere area. And so I went to Baldwin Park, and I don't know where I was because the GPS said I was 0.9 miles away from my destination of I just typed in Baldwin Park, not a thing, so wherever the center of that would be. But I ended up in this beautiful, I don't know what it was, community. And I just pulled up, and there was 2 benches overlooking a lake and a little bridge. And there was no one around. And I said, this is so strange. So me and Benji just kicked it by the lake. We just like were chilling. He like laid in the shade under me, and he walked around and had a good time. And then we went back, and as I'm working on my fitness, stopped at McDonald's, and we shared a little a cheeseburger. Aww. He didn't like the fries, and so I'm waiting there, and I'm like, she's been doing this for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was like, I gotta go drive around some more. And then you called right when I left McDonald's, and you're like, I passed. No. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So we can get back to some sort of a routine, because it's
we get our life back a bit, because it was nonstop study. Oh my God, nonstop. I mean, it's crazy you're talking about social media and kind of decompressing. I wasn't on social media much, because literally every waking moment of my life was study. All weekend long, that Monday.
You still had you weren't on the consumption side of it, but you kept up everything.
A little bit. I took a few days off of stories just because I had to. But it feels kind of good. You're just kind of in it when you're like in the real world sometimes. But I'm ready now. And it's so funny. I feel like lately everything in our life, it's been a surprise, like our wedding, this. And the whole reason I didn't want to talk about it is I'm very much a don't talk about it, be about it type person. Let your actions show. And, there was just so much going on. I didn't want to be like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I hate that so much.
Yeah.
When I'm doing it, I know you do too. You don't like talking about things we're going to do. You like to do it, experience it, and then talk about it. It's more interesting.
I like to talk about it while we're doing it.
That's true. That's true.
So I think saying you're good, that's why even like with some of our ideas, because there's times that we'll have an idea.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest idea. And we're up at 11:45 and we're writing things down. And we're like, this is a great idea. And then 6 days later, we're looking at it again going, why would we ever think that was a good idea? Uh-huh. Because you get new information, or you start to flush it out, or you sleep on it. And, this is just such an interesting time in our lives. And I just feel like we're learning a lot about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we're just in this period of just trying things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, because we're like, well, what's our next step? And I knew real estate was always on the map.
I always was.
But with your parents moving here, hey baby,
Benji, no snoring.
With your parents moving here, it kind of created a
urgency and reason to do it.
That there's a treat at the end of the
study.
Yeah, because in general, just like we've done this enough in so many different industries, it's not a salary job. It's not like we graduated college and
got employed,
and you just go take 6 interviews and then you got employed, and then the money's right there, and you're like, wow, sure. This is also one of those jobs that it's a business in the sense that there is no salary, so it's commission based, and you could sell 10 homes this year, or none, or 30. But it's really nice knowing that we're going to get experience, and we're actually going to get a little something to kind of, because there's going to be investments, there's going to be things you need to pay for, there's got to be and then I'm sure even with certain equipment, there's going to be, and it's going to be nice to use the money that we're making on our first commission for the experience. And with a lot of brokerages, which I didn't know either, because usually a real estate agent will receive 3%. And I don't think in Florida, if it's a residential, that you can represent a buyer and seller, correct?
That's illegal.
So I don't know if that's in other states.
DOOL agent.
But you can if it's a commercial unit over $1 million.
Yep.
Little things I retained. But anyway, we're most likely going to start in residential. But so you'll get about 3%. But then the brokerage is going to get anywhere from 50% to 0% from your 3% for doing their job.
Yeah.
So as we were looking through all the brokerages, there are some that are 50-50 split, some are 70-30, and some are, or you get 100%. And the one that we settled on is really interesting, because they do a 70-30 split, but only on the first 3 transactions, which I think was so fair.
Totally.
Again, we're new. I might look back and go, oh, I don't, I'm just from what I know right at this second,
Yeah.
that sounded cool to me because it wasn't based on sales. It was based on transactions.
Well, and also, too, they're giving you a coach for these 3 transactions.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Then you should, because you're
Yeah.
going to want someone to go, okay, so
How do I fill this contract out?
what is, yeah, I mean, you're starting from scratch. So
Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful. And I love, yet again, another bonus of selling your parents a house is that checks one of those off.
Yep.
So now the next 2, you'll have your coach. And then from there on in perpetuity, it's 100% of your commission. And I'm just excited to just see what this is going to be.
What it's going to be like. Like you said, it is a business. You're not employed. You're out there doing the thing, finding the lead. So I'm just curious to see how it'll all go. And I think it's a really great compliment to everything else that we're doing in life, which is really nice.
And it's where we want to go in the future.
Yes.
Because as much as we're doing a lot of stuff on social media, I believe in social media in the sense that it'll be around for a very long time. It'll evolve into VR. There'll be new social platforms that I think we can continue to carry on to. But I love the tangible aspect of real estate, like
Absolutely.
investing, having some of your money in there. Because even in the next 10, 15 years, to own a few properties, to have people renting, it's just going to be nice to have different streams of income coming in. And I also love that the pressure, I also love that there's no pressure because we have multiple jobs. So it's not like you and I are just like, we don't have a job and we need real estate. And I think that's going to come off really well.
Sure.
It's kind of like when you were auditioning, the people who go in desperate, like, I need this job, never got it. But the one who's just like, hey, where do I stand? Yeah, I don't even know my lines. I'm so sorry. Oh, he's so adorable. He doesn't care. It makes me feel good. That's a little exaggeration, but kind of not. But going into it, if you're just like, hey, like, I'm doing real estate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, would love to help you, but all good if not, because we do our podcast. We have everything else that we're doing. So it's all supplemented. So I think that's an advantage, too, of having multiple things going on.
It'll be really interesting. Hey, with your audition thing you just said, entertainment talk, I saw Days got picked up for 2 more, is it years or seasons?
2 years.
Whoa. So did they ever have that when you were there, or was it, like when you first signed, didn't you sign a 4-year contract originally?
Yes. I signed a 4-year originally, and then I want to say after that, they might have had 1 2-year.
Okay.
So I think they finished out the 4, then they might have had a 2-year, and then it's been, for the last 4 years, it's been 1, 1, 1, 1.
Wow.
So now I'm curious too for all the actors if they're going to be offering 2-year contracts again, or if they're going to be doing just 1 year. Because the reason we always did 1 year was sometimes the actors didn't want to be locked in for longer than a year, but they also didn't know if the show was going to be picked up. So they would just do year-long contracts, which also was like a weird vibe the last 4 years, because as soon as you start your contract and you blink, you're like, I only got 9 months left.
Yeah.
But if you had 2 years, it feels like you can go, oh, okay, I'm good for 2
job.
years, even though they could still let you go after every 26-week cycle. But it was always like,
Stressful.
yeah, you have 9 months, and then what are you going to do for a living?
Huh.
You've got 8 months. What are you going to do? And then, you're renewed for a year. Your contract's okay. Then you have like about 3 months where you're feeling confident. And you're like, in 9 months, what are we going to do for a living? So it's always been, that's why it's transferred over to this, of why I feel like what we're doing now, it's just kind of like, you know what I mean? Because we haven't had a paycheck
from a job
in 15 months.
Yeah.
So every penny we've earned has been, no one's paid us that. We have earned it as self-employed people or entrepreneurs or whatever you want to call us. And that's very rewarding, but it also has that same,
Stressful.
yeah, because you're just like, okay, well, so we got money for this amount of time, and then like 3 months go by, and then you're like, oh, now we just got extended another 6 months of money, and then so you're kind of like you're like responsible. So that comes with a lot of freedom, but it also comes with all of the accountability and responsibility.
But do you think back in the day on Days, like say in the 80s, 90s, that they had long contracts? Like what would you imagine that to have looked like back then? Because back when it was like soaps were it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they would do a 4-year with me.
in the beginning.
Yeah, it seems like that could have been pretty traditional.
Right?
And that unless you were one of the big wigs where like
They wanted
maybe
to do
they
a
were
year.
one at a time. There's been a lot of actors and actresses who have left and go, I'm not signing a year contract, but I'll do recurring. But then Days is like, no, because if we write for you and then you're not under contract and you go book something, then we're screwed. So it's kind of like I understood that, where I go, oh yeah. Imagine they're just like, hey, we need you. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not under contract, so I'm not obligated. I'm going to go on vacation instead.
Wow.
But then you burn a bridge. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying in general,
It
they
could be
want to know.
messy.
People wouldn't do that. But if they booked a pilot or a movie, they'll go, sorry, can't. But if you're contractually obligated, then you can't take the movie.
Well, and that's what's very interesting about working on a soap, especially when you're a younger aspiring actor. It's been used plenty of times for people to have great thriving careers, but other people at times start on a soap. Like I think even Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and it was kind of like a stepping stone to go into movies. And obviously there's a lot going on in the world now where movie stars now do TV and everyone's just like commingling, if you will. But it's interesting to see because when you were young too, you were like, well, what if I get this audition that I'm going out for while I'm on Days, you know, and trying to have the schedules aligned. So it's all just really interesting. And it's just another part of just having something in any industry where there is risk and making the right decision. And you're like, is this right? Is this meant to be? What do I do?
But you'll never know.
No, that's
You know, that's the thing. There was actually there was a friend that I was hanging out with during the booking of Days, and I remember when it came through that I tested for it or whatever. I remember she was like, she's like, I wouldn't do it. She goes, you're young. She's like, it's 4 years, and she goes, I would pass. And I remember thinking like, yeah, but I haven't worked. I mean, I was on 90210, but the contract. Here's the interesting thing. I bet you the new people on Days now are getting a way better deal than we got in 2011.
Probably.
Because my first 2 years there was like peanuts.
Hey, it's your first thing though.
But I think there are people now who got in for a year. See, here's what goes down. When you do a 4-year contract, you come in as a nobody, so they don't have to pay you. But after 2-3 years of your contract, now all of a sudden you have equity because people are a fan of you and people want to see you. So you add value, but you can't negotiate higher prices because you're locked into a 4-year contract that you signed when you were a nobody. But now when these actors are coming in who sign a 1-year deal within a year, become a megastar on the show, they have leverage to negotiate for year 2.
Wow.
Because they would say, well, they're like, oh my gosh, the fans love you. We want you to come back for year 2. Then the person could say, well, I want this much money. Where when I'm locked in for a 4-year contract, it was just, you know. So the first couple years was not that much. I mean, it was still a lot. If you knew the gross, you'd be like, wow. But even in my first 4 years, I had a manager and an agent that was getting 20% plus 30% in taxes. Plus 9.25% in sales tax. Ugh. So technically, you're only keeping 40% of your money. So hypothetically, if it was, say, $100,000 a year, you're like, wow, at 22, you're making 6 figures. You're taking home $40,000.
Wow.
And the cheapest rent is $1,500. So you don't even make enough to pay your rent.
Oh my gosh.
So the only reason that I had money during the first 2 years of Days was because I booked 6 national commercials and made like a couple $100,000.
Yeah. You were like the commercial king.
But that's supplemented those 2 years before it started getting higher.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because people will think like, oh, you know, and there are people making really good money, but you also have to take into consideration where it's located.
Where it's located, if you have families.
The cost of
that looks like.
Yeah. Like I would say in California, especially now with taxes, in compared to like my hometown, $75,000 in my hometown a year, you are going out to eat when you want. You're driving a car that's like newer.
Yeah.
That's like, you know,
yeah,
10,000 miles on it, going out to dinner, hanging out with friends, remodeling your house, like 75,000. And then if you're married to someone who makes 50, 60,000, I mean, you're crushing it. In California, that's probably equivalent to $250,000 and maybe like $350 as a household because you're getting taxed so much and the cost of living is so much that even if you're left with $8,000 cash after everything per month, your mortgage is $4,000. Your groceries are $1,500. I mean, your money's gone.
It goes quick.
So that's the interesting part. And with actors, that's even crazier because your manager, your agent, and then some publicist, and then your accountant.
That's true.
Like even my accountants over the year, plus Lisa who stole, but even my accountant for the past 4 years before we moved was expensive.
Yeah.
So when you really do all the math, that's why you and I have always been super hungry of like, what else can we do?
Yeah.
How do you lower your overhead?
Yeah.
And because you're kind of just spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, especially when we made mistakes. You don't have any leeway. So it's just been a huge roller coaster. But I'm really, really, really happy that they got 2 more years because I remember Ken Corday years ago was like, we're going to make it to 60. And he said that like 5 years ago. I think they got renewed through year 58.
Oh.
So
he's going to want to do 60. I got to say, though, the fact that they just got 2 more years and in a world where I guess soaps have not made it that much, that's such a huge accomplishment.
I think Days held on during a very, very pivotal moment. And I think that they got hammered in 14, 15, 16.
Yep.
And there was like talks of like a potential talk show coming in and all those things were happening. And it was like the numbers weren't doing well in comparison. But then something magical happened. All these apps came out. YouTube, social media, everything became popular.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you people at NBC are looking around going, we had 6 new shows come out. No one's watching them. We just spent millions of dollars. All that's working is dance shows, voice shows, reality shows at night, prime time. Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Kind of like all this great, cheap entertainment. And they're trying these new primetime shows. We had a friend whose show got canceled and they were doing millions of views. But on primetime, you need millions of views.
It's on Netflix now, though.
Yes. So that's really good. But I'm saying that they're probably looking at Days of Our Lives going, it's always consistent.
Yeah.
So I think we hit now a point where there's so many platforms. You know, for some reason, our Hulu, I got to like change, maybe the card's expired or something. But Hulu was like, oh, we couldn't charge your card. And I was like, oh, I'll redo it. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't need Hulu. I watch like Shark Tank on Hulu, but I don't watch it. Why was I paying $7 a month?
Happens.
And then I spend all my time on Amazon Prime and on Netflix. 98% of everything I watch is on those 2 platforms, but I'm seeing Paramount. I'm seeing Discovery Plus.
Those are the 2
Peacock,
those are the 2 I'm using.
Disney Plus is absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
HBO Max.
Yep.
But there's just so many now of these different platforms. So I think NBC at this point in 2021 is looking at going, Days is doing 1.5 million every single day.
Let's keep it. Yeah.
What's the chances they got 2 years? After almost being canceled for 4 years in a row, and now you get 2 years. And so that's the fan base.
Yeah.
The fan base does not waver. They love the show, and it's a staple of NBC, just like The Tonight Show.
Yep. And you got to think, too, for NBC, the fact that it's already a well-oiled machine. It's been there for 56 years now.
Yeah.
They have the sets built, the teams. Like, why would you want to cancel all of that and start something new? Unless it wasn't performing well, but it is. So I don't know. When you just look at all of those different details of it, it just kind of makes sense why they would keep it.
Yeah, and I think he is snoring like every 10 seconds.
I know.
Yeah, but it was really good news, and I think it's good to keep it running.
I know. So congrats, Days.
Yeah, it was really good news. I keep up on all the Days news from Instagram.
Me too.
You see
I saw Eric's story and I go, oh shit.
Yeah. No, that's really good. So yeah, it was a really lot of good news this week.
Lot of good news.
And I feel like this is like it was almost like the last 8 weeks was the end of something, and now there's like this
Totally
new
agree.
blossom, and like I have so much optimism. I have so much just energy,
Yeah.
and I'm like ready to go, and it's just gonna
There's
be
a
really
lot going on. And speaking of good news, have you heard that Bennifer is back, baby? Do you know who that is? What that is?
Bennifer?
Bennifer.
What is Bennifer?
You seriously don't know what Bennifer is?
Is that what are those called when you smash names together?
Compound name? Well, you know what's really funny? Yes, it is. It's Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. They were the first ones to start that compound names.
Really?
Yeah. Let me
They
just
they could have said Jen and Ben, but Bennifer is way cooler.
Bennifer's so cool.
Yeah.
And then also, before I tell you about this, I've tried to put our names together. We don't have a cute compounding nickname. What would you call us? Fralissa?
It can't be. I think the most interesting is Frala.
Frala?
Yeah, F-R and then A-L-A from your name.
A-L-A? Frala?
Alyssa, A-L-Y-S-S-A. You take out the is.
Fralissa?
Not Fralissa. That's too like Frala. Frala or F-R-E. We need your help.
Yeah, guys, help us think of
There's
something
never
cool,
been
like,
a name, even on days that they haven't
No.
been able to compound.
Because you feel how like Bennifer has a ring. That's why it's stuck, and that's why it started that, because it sounds so good off the tongue. Bennifer's back. So, okay, let me explain.
Yeah.
Jennifer and Ben dated 2002, 2003. They were one of the first couples in the public eye when paparazzi was hot, because we were coming into a different time, like new millennium, and everyone freaked out because they were saying, like, Ben, I guess, like, really became that, like, poster picture perfect guy,
Yeah.
the shaved beard, like clean shaven, nice coiffed hair, just such a gentleman. Just everyone was freaking out. Well, they were young and they didn't know at the time, but they were excited about their relationship. So I've read a lot about this. Jen always said, she goes, we just were too accessible to the public eye because we were so excited in the beginning and it was new. Like paparazzi didn't chase people. Like they chased people, but not in the form of what happened in early 2000s. It got to a crazy extreme. So they were one of the first major couples that experienced that tumultuous, like under the spotlight type life.
Yeah.
So they dated 2002, 2003, and they were going to get married. They had this big wedding plan in Santa Barbara, September 03, and a few days before the wedding, they canceled it. And Jen had said, she was explaining, when you were actually having talks about hiring 3 decoy brides, that's a problem, and maybe we should just like not do this. There's just too much publicity on us. Other people say, though, he got cold feet. Who knows? Long story short, I went back in this crazy rabbit hole of watching all of their interviews, and you could just see they were just so in love. She was like obsessed with, like, she was just really into him. They really seemed like they had a great relationship.
What was he famous for in 2003? Like, what was some of his, because he became real famous.
They did Good Will Hunting in the night. When was that though?
Good Will Hunting was like early
90s. I mean, didn't he do a bunch of like superhero movies?
That was way later.
Way later. That's a good question. Because they met on the set of Julie, I think is how you say it. Remember that movie? They did like some rom-com. I heard it wasn't great. I don't know if I ever saw it.
Do you know how old he is?
Like 48.
Yeah.
He's 48. She's
49,
51.
I think maybe.
But this is what's so crazy about the whole story is she just broke up with A-Rod, which I got to say I was a little sad about that because I really liked them together. But I think he kind of did her dirty just from, I don't know. I don't know. But she doesn't seem like...
Oh, A-Rod?
Yeah. I think he like fooled around or messed around. I'm not sure. I don't know them. But she... apparently went back to Ben. And what's really crazy is first there were reports that like he was going to her house And there were like no pictures, but people are just saying, oh yeah, like he's going over there. And then the first picture of them came out because they went to Montana vacation. They're in the car together. And I just feel like I'm back in 2002 because the internet's freaking out. You, I feel, weren't as much into pop culture when you were younger, but like early 2000s to me, it was everything. It was a time.
Yeah.
You know, like a really cool time and just so many, and like the nostalgia. And so seeing those pictures, you're like, wait, what?
Well, and I'm sure if they're like meant to be, it's probably going to be like so amazing now because have 20 years of life experience. So they're probably the same people, but the growth is going to help them maybe stay together if that's real quick though.
What were his movies?
Well, I mean, he did a lot. He did, in 2003, he did. I mean, yeah, he's always worked.
What did he do?
Jersey Girl, Paycheck, Giggly.
Yeah, that's the one he did with Jennifer.
Okay, and Jersey Girl was 2004, but he could have shot that before they met. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Pearl Harbor, Boiler Room, Dogma, Shakespeare in Love, Armageddon, Good Will Hunting, Chasing Amy.
Oh my gosh! So we should.
So he was a very
big movie star,
and then he just got even bigger. Argo was so good. The Town was so good. He did The Town and Argo back to back.
Wow!
I've always been a fan of him.
He's great, and so they literally broke into the industry with Good Will Hunting, right? They wrote it. He and Matt Damon.
Yes, yeah. I think that's so remarkable. I'm like slightly jealous, but not in a negative way. But just the fact that he like had a buddy and they like moved here and they've always had each other. And then they do this. What's it called? Greenlight on HBO. I watched a season of it where they get. Yeah, I don't know why I'm not. I just literally watched it like a month ago, where they have all these new filmmakers submit and. Matt and Ben
it's like
pick
reality.
somebody and give them a green light to shoot a film that goes on HBO. But just seeing that they have this friendship, I think they're always at like baseball games together. They're friends with Kimmel, and then Kimmel's got that sorry Matt Damon where he ran out of time.
Well, I also saw too, Matt Damon was on some sort of show being interviewed, and they asked him, they're like, well, so what do you think about Jen and Ben? And he goes, fascinating topic. That's all he said.
He probably knows so much.
So much, and he wouldn't even confirm.
And then Ben's
anything.
been through so much.
Yeah.
Just in his personal life and just,
a lot of struggles.
But he's also just got like, he just has swag. Like he bounced back. He's cool. Remember he was hitting that random girl up on the Raya app recently?
Yeah, we saw it on TikTok. And so they matched on Raya. And for those who don't know what Raya is, it's like this creme
Tinder
de la creme
for
celebrities. You have
to
be, famous or have a check mark, who knows, but it's a long process to get on there. So you can literally match with Ben Affleck, and this young, gorgeous, beautiful chick matched with him. But then she goes, I don't know if this is actually him. So she unmatched him. He went to Instagram and sent her a video.
Hey, why'd you unmatch me? It's me, Ben. But he said it. Because
you don't give a F.
It's got to be so weird to be that famous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's still it's like, because even for me with like my micro fame, when I'm in rooms where I am famous because everyone in the room knows me, I still say, hi, I'm Freddie, nice to meet you. And some people be like, we know, but it's still strange to me because I forget that I even have micro fame because I live my life and 99.9% of the times I'm out and about, no one says anything. Imagine being Adam Sandler or Ben Affleck or Will Ferrell or Will Smith, knowing that everywhere you go, everyone knows you. Yeah. And I remember when I met Will Ferrell and I raced go-karts with him in 2006.
So cool.
And I remember being like, hey, I'm Freddie. And he goes, it's nice to meet you. But like he didn't even introduce himself as Will because it's like,
we know.
Of course you know who it is.
Yeah.
But I even felt like when he goes, hey, it's me, Ben. Like he said it in such a funny way because all you have to do is just put a video on. You're Ben Affleck in someone's DMs.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh.
Like he's just to be that well known. I inspire though. That's the one thing that intrigues me about like massive success is the whole like to be you just have no care in the world because no matter what you do, you're never going to be like broke and homeless. If someone says anything, like it just nothing matters.
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't care because I'll never go hungry. I'll never have to worry about retirement.
My kids will be good.
I'll never have to worry about anything.
Yep.
So this ultimate freedom of I cannot, even if I tried, get rid of my wealth.
Yeah.
I remember Chris Rock had a joke about that back in the day. He goes, there's a difference between rich and wealthy. He goes, rich, you can get rid of with a 90-day crack problem in the summer. Wealthy, you cannot get rid of. He goes, basketball players are rich. The people who sign their checks are wealthy.
Wow.
And I butchered his joke, but that was what he was essentially saying is that there's a dip, like Ben Affleck has wealth. Like these people have so much wealth that you can't lose it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference between being rich. You make a few bad decisions, you're broke again.
And then he also was married to Jennifer Garner, who's wildly successful too.
Yeah.
You know?
But I'm just really, that's one thing that really pushes me though for success of like truly being in a position one day to wake up and go, like money's not on my mind.
Yeah.
What do I want to spend this precious time that I have? Because every person who reaches that kind of success and wealth, that's all they ever talk about because money doesn't matter anymore. So the only currency they can possibly have is their time.
Yeah.
And just to think like how 80% of people think about their decisions based on money.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to go to Austin, Texas? What's the first thing we think of? Not if it'd be fun, not what we would do.
Well, how much will it
was like,
spend?
well, how much would it cost? And then if we are gone for a week, what would that cost? What would food cost? What hotel? And then what would we be missing money-wise taking 7 days off?
Yeah.
Like you can't just say like I want to go to Austin because I want to go and just check it out. It's really hyped right now. Like let's just go have some barbecue.
Right.
So you're making decisions based on money, not off of what you want to do. But that's my whole point. He's probably swagged out because he just goes, look, I could sleep in and I could turn off all my phones and I never have to do anything ever again, ever.
And I also can DM hot girls in their 20s with one video and get a date.
Hey, it's me, Ben. I played Batman.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that line? Remember in Batman, the kid in the car is like, "What's your superpower?" He goes, "I'm rich."
So good. So good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's done a lot of really great projects. Great career.
Yeah.
Great career.
There was also something because like Amazon recommends like customers also watched, and I've been in this thing of watching. There was something very special about like, to give it a bigger window, 2005 to 2015, but even smaller, like 2008 to 2013. That 5-year window had some of the greatest films from 2008 to 2013. Some of the greatest films.
Like what?
Everything you've ever seen that's good is in those 5 years.
Do you have one movie? One film?
World War Z.
That's Ben Affleck? Or, I mean,
Brad Pitt. That was really good. And then just a lot of other Oscar films that were good. I don't know. I forget because like watch.
We'll come back with a list later.
Just type in best movie of 2010. You'll be like, oh wow,
It was a goodie.
Just everything. Everything was so good between 2008 and 2013.
You know, it's crazy because last night I was trying to find a movie. I was like, I've been so busy. I've had my nose in the books. I'm so excited. There's probably so much out. I can't wait to watch a great film. And I couldn't find anything new. Like literally in the past 2-3 weeks, there's been nothing good that's new. There is a movie I was going to start, but I didn't start it yet, with Ed Helms. And I guess he is having a surrogate, but he's going to raise the baby on his own because he's hitting a point in his life. He wants a baby. And I forget what it's called. I didn't even start it, but I did rent it.
Is he going to fall in love with the surrogate?
I'm assuming so. So maybe we could watch that later.
You know another thing too, and this could be wrong, but I'm curious your thoughts, and then we should really wrap this up.
I know this has been a long one.
We've got to get going, but It seems like back in the day when you watch a movie from like 2011 or 2012, it was kind of, you were watching it about the people in those moments and fighting zombies or falling in love or whatever it was. It feels like 2018, 2019, 2020, like a lot of the TV shows and movies are kind of like commentary on what's going on in the current state of the world.
I feel that.
Like there's a lot of political agendas, which is important, but it just seems like it's so overwhelming. It seems like there's a lot of like how many times are we going to see like people who are older, like not knowing how to connect to their Wi-Fi, or like talking about like, what's a boober? What's up Googles? Like how many times have we, like there's just too much commentating on like old people being like, I'm on the Facegram. I'm like, that joke was done in 2016.
It's done.
We get it. But
Retire
you know what I'm saying? It seems like there's too much commentary on pop culture.
I feel that.
And it's almost like you're watching commentary rather than like...
I just want an escape.
I just want to be in this person's world. And
Yeah.
it just seems like it's just a bunch of commentary on social media. And like, I don't know. It's just very disconnected to me now, where when I was watching like World War Z, I'm like, that was a movie about a virus breaking out and about zombies.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about like how like someone messed up the call or what country's fault it was or how the president of this. It was just these zombies were coming and it was about Brad Pitt like trying to help solve this for the world and about the love for the family.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole entire movie and it was flawless. I was glued. I go, how have I not? If I seen that movie, I forgot. It is amazing.
So good. That just reminded me, in Universal, when you go on that backlot tour, you can see they have a set from World War Z with all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember it.
It was just so good. It was so good.
I love that.
So,
I'll have to rewatch. But that being said, I think we got to bounce, baby.
We got to bounce.
We got to bounce. We love you guys.
We do. So we'll be back here. We're doing an episode on Sunday. We go live. I don't know if we're gonna go live this Sunday, but if you all want to consider becoming members, we do an extra podcast every Sunday.
Yep.
So some of them are live, some of them are pre-recorded like this. But if you're on Facebook, you can check it out by clicking support now, or on YouTube, join now, or there's a link in the description. Just kind of see some of the perks if you're interested and you want to consider becoming a member. We have a lot of fun over there, and we do a little extra podcast, so it's going to be fun. So we have that on Sunday, but then we'll be back here Wednesday. We'll keep you up to date. Cross your fingers, send us good vibes that we're going to find your parents a house and get this career started off with a bang, and that we're going to find ourselves a house as well to rent. So it's going to be an interesting week. So so thank you for stopping by. Congratulations, babe. I love you. I'm proud of you. And we will see you all next week.